How did I feel when I heard the result? I suppose a sense not just of loss, which was very strong, but a sense of having had something stolen from me and my family. The idea of community, of stability, of a real loss, because my father was a prisoner of war in the Second World War and was desperate for me not to live the kind of miseries that he lived in, which is exactly what the disassembling of the European Union is going to bring us. In other words, it's going to bring us a fractured, nationalist, populist world where divisions are exploited for their own sake. And I'm lucky. I'm now in my late 50s and I haven't lived the privations. He was captured at Dunkirk that he lived with. But my children, they'll probably be okay too. My grandchildren, I fear for them. So I felt as though the future had been stolen by a bunch of scoundrels. Personal stories regarding Brexit. I'm afraid they are stories of the fracturing of personal relationships. It's become a deeply divisive issue. In a sense, the Brexit story is rather like the Dreyfus affair, l'affaire Dreyfus. It must not be spoken of. So I have expelled people from this very house not for their views on Brexit, but for insisting on bringing Brexit up over my dinner table. I'm afraid, broken, or people have broken with me, for their views or our different views on this story, which is the definition of polarization in personal relationships. People I went to watch the football with at the Fulham Football Club. I don't want to associate with them anymore because whilst one does not necessarily have to be a fascist, a demagogue or a bigot to have voted Brexit, and there is actually a very good case for voting for Brexit. I'm a Eurosceptic Remainer myself. The fact is, however, that every single fascist, every single demagogue, every single bigot who did vote in that referendum did vote for Brexit. And so it's become a kind of litmus test. You vote for Brexit and you are suspect and you are potentially not my friend. So the issue of whether the referendum has changed the UK as I see it and its place in the world as I see it, I think it's an important one. The referendum has certainly proved that Britain is only comfortable as a vertically integrated society. The Downton Abbey model of British society, this historical fantasy, is something that we most approve of. Not for nothing is Julian, recently ennobled Lord Fellows, what I would characterise as a fantasist, Brexiteer or Brextremist. And these people, I'm afraid that their version of history, in a sense, has, or the fantasy version of history, has in a sense asserted itself, but it's stripped away, that fantasy that people voted for has stripped away a greater level of fiction to reveal an inner truth, which is that the British people, well, I speak at least for the English. God bless the Scots, who actually seem to have a more sensible view on the whole of these things. Are not really interested in democracy. They're just interested in a nice place below stairs, and certainly those who voted for Brexit did. So ultimately it's revealed to me that Britain is a vertically integrated, yearns for a vertically integrated society with toffs and those below stairs, and the idea of democracy is a fundamental joke to them. Witness the idea that, and they clearly don't understand it, the idea that it has to stop because of a marginal advisory vote in favour of Brexit is just nonsense. As for Britain's place in the world, I'm afraid, again, this is all to do with the Brexit fantasy. This is nothing more and nothing less than the idea that Britain is somehow special. It is revealed, and we have many special qualities, as do the Belgians, as do the French, as do the inhabitants of the island of the islands of the Azores, who may or may not be a Portuguese territory, but does it really matter? The point being that that we, as citizens of liberal democracies, we really ought not to be seeking to find differences, but actually to find communalities, which we're absolutely not doing. So what it has revealed is that Britain's ludicrous and deluded sense of self-importance is going to demonstrate a very stark realpolitik reality, which is that we're not as important as we think we are. The only cultural legacy we've really left is the benign linguistic legacy of a fine language which is easy to speak badly, and which works very well on a basic level, of course, and certain principles of honesty, decency, and one hopes fair play, all of which sadly seem to have been robustly abandoned by those who've hijacked democratic principles for the sake of winning the referendum vote. The storm is coming. Who'll benefit from Brexit? Well, who won't benefit are the Nissan Sunderland car workers, the potato farmers of Lincolnshire, and nearly all the people who voted for it in such large numbers. The real answer is that they voted for it because the people who will benefit from it manipulated them, and they are the champagne leavers, the ones who basically want to revert us to something close to a feudal system, or at least the grotesque fiction, which is the upstairs downstairs version, the Downton Abbey version of society, with a few privileged toffs and the rest of us looking up to them and serving their needs and wants. So yeah, it's perfectly straightforward. The other thing is, of course, finance. The hedge fund managers. The story's just coming out. I thoroughly commend people. Look up the best story on this at the moment, and I'm speaking in the summer of 2018, is Bloomberg, who are really onto manipulation of the markets via the opinion polls. There's a lot of financial skullduggery that's gone on, and I'm looking forward to those tales coming out. So, what else to say about this? I think the post-referendum situation in Britain and in Europe can be seen as an opportunity. It can be seen as an opportunity to re-engage with our civil rights. The system let many people down, and that's why this protest vote, based on almost fantasy, nonsense, propaganda, that's why it succeeded, and it's a valid wake-up call for us all. It's an opportunity to re-engage with the things that are really important in life, which is actually caring about our institutions, caring about things like the truth, real journalism, real facts, real things that make a difference to us and our families and our society. It's really important that we take on board the nativists, the extremists, the bigots, the fascists, the idiots on the liberal elites as well, absolutely. And let's let the citizens call everyone to account and let's stand up for ourselves. Let's become people of the extreme centre, as it were. Let's not descend into the hell of the 1930s, which my father's generation and those before they sacrificed in many cases their lives for this. We don't have to. We haven't had to, and we are being utterly complacent with the liberties that they gave us. So it's really important to re-engage, to actually re-examine, to make up your own truths, to make up your own minds about the truth, not to make up your own truths. That's exactly what not to do. But to be fair-minded and not let anyone, be they liberal Guardian reading elitists, or the awful people who've brought about the referendum result. Don't let them get away with it.